Is there anything in particular with the swing or the get up that people tend to have a lot of trouble with? Something you're noticing across the whole class?
Maybe not the whole class, but I think in general terms, the swing I see as three phases. The power phase, and that's when you get a perfect height and you connect that bicep and arm to the rib. The power phase up through hip extension, wham, and then the patience or the grace phase when the bell's floating. And then the big one is the patience phase, waiting for that bell to get back prior to the hinge. So, a lot of people will, especially as you get fatigued, kind of anticipate that hinge. And then not get that full connection. And then they're arming the kettlebell and it's beating the shit out. Sorry.
We like profanity.
Yeah. I grew up in a logging town. I was a military guy. I fished in Alaska. I was raised by the best cussers on the planet. But yeah, that type of stuff, just the timing of it all. It's, and the thing with the swing is, I think Fabio said this at one of my first certs. He said that he's done like 3 million swings and only one was perfect. And that was on accident and it wasn't on video, so it didn't count, right? So the whole thing with the swing, man, it's like it's perfection's razor blade, right? But perfectly safe and effective is like magic marker. So there's some room there. There's some wiggle room there on that quest of perfection, but I've never done a perfect swing. I'd love to think I have, but no, but I've been perfectly safe for about the last 10 years. So, I've made some pretty good gains, just by saying, hey man, I mean, I'm an A personality sometimes, but perfection is a myth in dynamic movements like that, but you can get pretty freaking good at it,
So when you were talking about your three phases, that third phase, and this is where kettlebells get a little murky. Personally, I think there's a lot of bullshit that's tossed around. You get people who are teaching the exact opposite thing. At the top, are you doing a hard plank? Are you relaxing? Are you doing a little bit of each? I mean, we have our opinions on this. But what are you teaching people, and when, and why do you teach it that way? As far as just that last phase,
the patience phase.
Yeah. So once you get from the power to basically, you've got your full hip extension, your arms down, it's getting ready to float up. So the float all the way through down. Where are you teaching people to get tight? Are you teaching people to get tight? Like what's your methodology?
Yeah. So how I prepare people for the patience phase or whatnot is, for instance, every time someone does even a kettlebell deadlift with me, they hold the standing plank for a minimum of 2 seconds, right? So they get to the top of their deadlift for 2 seconds, the glutes are on, the core can take a punch, I can hit them in the quads, and we do that, right? We do I go, you go. Someone does a deadlift, their partner freaking punches them in the gut, gives them a karate chop to the glutes, gives them a little hammy thing, and a quad thing. So every swing has about a 2-second plank.
Okay.
Every single one, right? So, yes, I teach everybody to, and it's appropriate tension, right? When I first did kettlebells, I went to my first cert. It was the RKC in San Diego, and Pavel and Brett Jones and all the superheroes were there, and I was too hard style. I was swinging a 24 like it was a 48. I was like, they came home, they're like, dude, settle down. Right? So there is some people swing hard style like Frankenstein, and some swing like Bruce Lee. It's the Bruce Lee. It's like face is cool, core's on, bells floating, quads are on, and it's just enough for that loaded hand, right? I mean, yeah, that's kind of it, right? I mean, you can hard style it too much where you take away from like the dominata or the beauty of the lift, the athleticness of it, right?
Explain that to people, because a lot of people don't know what that means.
Which one?
The dominata, the whole idea of the balance.
Oh yeah, it's the whole thing going back to that too hard style, right? Using too much tension for the loaded hand, and it doesn't allow your body to move how it's supposed to be. Like we tell people that they need to keep their bicep connected until full hip extension, and the shoulder needs to stay connected. So when they come up, they're afraid to let this shoulder go. So the swing's like instead of, just allowing that beauty of it, or that artistic, I don't fucking know, but allowing that
art, right?
of it, right? It's just, when I deadlift or when I swing a beast, I know that I need this amount of tension for the beast, right? Just enough that I can stay rooted. The bell's way out here away from me. I'm not falling on my face. And then when I swing the 24, I ramp that down quite a bit, right? So it's just appropriate tension for the loaded hand. And if you got too much tension, you're not getting that balance. It's just too much, and that's where people get their trap problems. And, it's Pavel always says, make the difficult look easy. So if I'm doing a set of 10 swings with the beast and someone walks by me, they're like, oh, that fucking looks easy, because I'm not, I'm just smooth, hinging, planking, breathing, allowing that bell to float, allowing it to do its thing, while staying rooted. And, and if you're too soft, it doesn't work. If you're too hard, it doesn't work. You need to find just the right amount of tension for the load in hand.
Okay. I think something, teaching, let's say a 2-second plank at the top of a deadlift, or an appropriate duration to express full hip extension and to be tight, and then let off the gas a little bit. That's something people can get their heads around, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of confusion. Jeremiah and I, we're largely self-taught until we started going through Strong First and interacting with other coaches. And we made a lot of mistakes simply by listening to what people were telling us. Like when we were learning how to snatch, it's like, oh, a snatch is a swing that ends overhead. Okay, so you got to have your arm way out here. Like, that fucking hurt. So having something tangible to hold on to is valuable. And the idea, if we're going to pull these things apart, the physiology, muscles that can't relax are weak. If you get really truly strong people, they can relax as well as they can generate strength. And that's something, that's a big takeaway.
Yeah. Every good athlete on the planet can go from extremely smooth to tense back to smooth, like at the drop of a hat, and that's actually a good drill. You just kind of like bouncing around like a fighter and then just say tense, and everybody just drops into full tension and goes right back into relaxation, So like after I do a set of swings, before the next set, I'm turning myself into Jello Man, just smooth, relax, let it all go. And then come up and find the tension and then let it all go. If you walk into the gym from a shitty day at work and you're like, oh, God damn it. And then you leave that way. I mean, you're kind of missing out on some of the great benefits of strength training because you're just always just so bound tight, So yeah, there's a balance to it, and that's where it all goes back to that appropriate tension.
So some of these jerks need to stop making fun of me for doing fast and loose.
Well,
you should be doing fast and loose.
But if you've seen his fast and loose, you would still make fun of him.
It's beautiful.
It's still good to do it, but
it's a glorious sight to see.
Hey, it's like a dancing club type thing.